Good evening. Welcome to Vintage Key Studio. My name is Bantling Mummy Bustard, and today we're going to be looking at the Baldwin Fun machine. Now, with the power switched off, this is a Baldwin Despair machine. But with the power switched on, look how much fun it is. This keyboard came out in 1974. It is a combination of an organ and a synthesizer. And it's quite unusual because it predated some of the polyphonic synthesizers of the era that came out a bit after it. I bought this a few days ago and have fixed it up. I have to say, fixing it hasn't been much fun. I think it should have been renamed the frustration machine. Basically, it had all of the keys were, half of them didn't work because it had all dust under the contacts. So what I had to do was get a little fiberglass brush and then clean all the contacts and use a bit of spray, WD-90, whatever it is. And now all of the keys work. I'll just demonstrate this. Oh, nothing works. And oh. That's good. Very quickly, I'll just show you the preset sounds it's got on it. So you've got the flute. The accordion. The trumpet. The vibroharp. The guitar. The piano. The harpsichord. The banjo. Right, and then you can also combine them as well, so you can have a bit of all of it. Okay, so that's quite nice. I should just give you a demonstration of the... I believe that's called paraphonic, where it re-triggers the notes on some of the sounds, but not on these ones. But anyway, this has got an interesting function, because if you press this auto mute button, which is a bit of a confusing name for it, this completely alters the sound of most of the sounds on this by sending it through a kind of a wah-wah filter. It does alter the flute sound a little bit. I'll just demonstrate them all. So it gives it a slightly kind of less warm tone. But when you use the accordion and then press auto mute button, trumpet, the same without the auto mute. And that's loads of polyphony on this. which for a synthesizer in 1974 is pretty good. And again, you can combine. Doesn't make a huge amount of difference. I'll keep the auto mute on now, see, and then without it there. No, oh, sorry. Auto mute on there, and then ever so slight change in that one. The guitar one's quite good, and then with the auto mute, and then piano, and then with the auto mute. Harpsichord, and then Vince Clarke would probably quite enjoy this one if he was making an erasure record. That's the banjo one. Now, in a way, it's a bit of a shame that it kind of stops there and it doesn't go down a bit further down into the bass. But stay tuned. So we've got the automate there. There's also this setting here called the ASR, which stands for Automatic Solo Registration. And basically what that is when you're playing, you've got all these rhythms down here. So if we've got this here, if you have this on and these things on, it will kind of... Probably quite a nice one. It creates a different kind of sound for each rhythm. No, it doesn't. It says it does in the book. You can... It's got a minor bar there. I should just explain about these. These keys are for the rhythms, the preset rhythms. So we've got all those there. So these are all for the preset rhythms. There's a minor bar. Okay, and then we've... And then we've got a tempo. And there's also this is a drum balance control. So it balances between the drums and the preset rhythm, and then you can obviously turn the drums off as well. And then the drums can carry on as well. Vibrato as well. You can hear, as I was playing that the sounds were sort of changing a little bit, and there was a bit of a kind of a funny wah-wah repeat thing going on. I'm not sure if that was supposed to be happening, but anyway, it sounds good to me. I haven't really fully explored all of these things because I'm not 100% sure that they all work yet. So that might be a video for another day. But I'm not so interested in the rhythm section. I'm more interested in the sounds myself. But the rhythm section. The other thing the rhythm section does as well is this percussive pattern thing. I think is it with that one. Yeah. So with that button on, the perk pattern 1, it adds a repeat function to any of these sounds. Actually, no, only the paraphonic ones. And only when the hang on. So when these are switched off, right. So it adds a repeat sound even when they're switched off. And then this other button over here. And he marched them down again. And when they were up, they were up. And when they were down, they were down. And when they were only halfway up, they were neither up nor down. That was the good old Fat King of York, or whatever it was called. I can't remember. What was it called? The Grand Old Duke of York. I had a grand old puke in York once. So here we are. These are the. I'll do it on fast speed. Oh, dusty switch. Anyway, dusty contact there. Oh, what an atmosphere. I love a planet where there is no atmosphere. By Russ Abbott. Oh, touch rhythm is. Some dusty contacts here, but anyway, that's the sort of thing you get from it. you may be able to pick up, possibly either on the microphone or from the line that I've taken out of this through the headphone jack, a kind of a sort of noise. That is a feature of the Fun machine because it's got a loose transformer winding or something like that. If I just turn this round, you can see the back of it. I'll just get rid of that thing. Yes, you can hear there's a. This is because the this is all earthed, by the way, so it won't kill me. That transformer has got hot there and starts to make a noise because it's really doing some heavy work. Baldwin were, as it says here, were made. The company was, or is, I'm not sure if it's still going, based in Ohio, in America. So this thing is running off of a 110 volt transformer that's then going through a converter, or the other way around. So this is basically a 220 volt step down transformer, I think, but it's just getting quite warm and rattling a bit, but it's perfectly safe. This is the back of the switches. So this is the back of the preset switches of the keyboardy things, and then this is the back of the drum switches. This is the back of the keyboard assembly. This is the starter capacitor for the lamp inside. And if we go down here, we've got the power parts, the power supply bit. Then this thing here is the main oscillator. So that generates the tone through this thing here, this little arrangement here, this variable inductor and this capacitor just here. By the way, please don't stick your fingers into electronic things when they're switched on like I'm doing now. That's an LC oscillator, which is providing the main oscillation frequency, which is then going through this top octave generator or splitter or whatever it's called, chip. And then you can see each of these connections going into a different resistor and then into a transistor. Then it basically branches off and then it's kind of like divided down into however many octaves there are on this thing. So that's all that components there. That's all the dividing side of it. And then this bit here, this is like a big lump of a load of different circuitry. Part of it is the drums, which I think might be this piece, but I'm not 100% sure. And then the rest of it is all the tone shaping and stuff. Then you've got a speaker crossover over, which I think might be there. No, it's not there. I don't know. Might be there or might be there. I can't see from here. You've got two 8-ohm speakers and then the volume pedal. But the thing I really love about this is the fact that the circuitry and the connections are drawn on top of the boards, as well as obviously underneath the boards with the metal track. So you can see exactly where everything's connected up, which is very useful. I wish they'd do that on everything. Now, earlier I mentioned about the fact that this thing only goes down to the C below middle C, and it would be nice if it would go down a bit further. And I was sort of looking at the schematic drawing, which is here, of the main oscillator for this instrument. And I did a bit of reading up on LC oscillators, which LC is basically means L stands for an inductance or an inductor, and C stands for capacitance. So it's an inductance and capacitance oscillator. The idea with one of them, not going into too much detail, but basically if you raise the capacitance or the inductance of an LC oscillator, it lowers the frequency that comes out, and vice versa. So if you lower the capacitance or inductance, it makes the sound, or the output frequency higher. But it's only kind of like within a certain limit, depending on what components you've got in here. So I thought, well, I want this thing to go lower, and this thing has a so the variable inductor in it, and it also has this, I think it's a 10 nanofarad capacitor in it, rated at 100 volts. And I thought, well, I could increase the capacitance in this capacitor here by just adding another one on top of it, because when you add two capacitors in parallel, it adds the two capacitances together. Well, if you have like a 10 nanofarad capacitor and then you stick another 10 nanofarad capacitor over the top of it and join it together, so both of the wires and each end are joined, it becomes 20 nanofarads. But if you join them in series, I think it halves. Something like that. I think it's half. And it's the opposite for resistors, but that's a bit technical. So anyway, I was just going to sleep last night when I suddenly thought, Eureka! And I went and grabbed my wires. And I'm just gonna switch this all off now, just firstly to give this thing a bit of a break, but secondly because I'm gonna connect some crocodile clips to this. No, I'll just wait for a few seconds for everything to calm down. Right, so I'm putting one clip. Now, please do not try this at home. I am earthed, by the way, so there's no problem here. And I'm not averse to a bit of an electric shock now and then, but this should be safe as long as I don't kind of like fall onto any of this. This is the dangerous bit, so we don't want to touch any of that. This bit's, I mean, although it can cause fires and stuff, it's unlikely to cause massive injury if you touch parts of it. But I still advise you don't. So what I've got now is a lead on either side of that 10 nanofarad capacitor. And what I did earlier today was I went through my box of capacitors and I made a big long snake of random ones until I got the right kind of sound. So that's what I made this morning, and because this is a 100 volt capacitor, and I didn't have any 100 volts, I only had 630 volt ones. So I joined them up in a nice sort of line there, and these actually did, even though it doesn't look very good, and it's a bit haphazard, this will now, if I just put that one on there, that one on there, and then this one, I won't touch that one to that wire yet, so I'll turn it back on again. Right. Keep holding to that. Okay. Right. You can hear as I'm touching. If you touch these things, put that on there, and then that's a pretty good octave. Now, I measured these earlier and I think it came to 5.39 nanofarads. But, and I tried to make up a slightly more easier to manage one there. So that now gives you, it's not quite an octave, but it's almost an octave, so I'm going to do a bit more tinkering with it just to tune it in. I'll probably have to either add or take away some of the capacitors. So now with this, I will actually use a 100 volt capacitors on this, because I'm not 100% sure what voltage rating these ones are, but it works for a couple of minutes anyway. It's not getting hot or anything. So with that now in, I will just hang that up there. And now we can have a play on the sounds. And as well as changing the tone and octave down here, it's also done it with this as well. now, the most I could get it to move down in terms of pitch. So say that C there was the lowest note of this. If I just demonstrate, it has now gone an octave below it, but I can get it to go down to a G, but that was as far as it would go, and I think that's because of the other components in the circuit. That's quite a cool function now. So we've now got a Baldwin Fun machine that's even more fun, and I'm going to put a little switch on here, get some better capacitors there, so I'll be able to then play the octave below instead of having to do this each time. I want to play so if I've got this, and then, and there you have it. A little bit dangerous, so don't try at home. I've got no idea what I'm doing.